We're starting to look at multiplying with polynomials, and the first type we're going to look at is when we multiply monomials with polynomials. So essentially we're going to be distributing, which we've done before, but now instead of just distributing numbers, we're going to distribute numbers and letters. So a couple things that we need to know. So first of all, we will always distribute all of our terms from one polynomial into another. We'll understand that a little bit more as we continue to work through these next couple of videos. We'll always combine like terms, and we'll always put our answer in standard form. So first thing we have to talk about is what does x to the fourth and what does x cubed mean? Well, doesn't x to the fourth just mean 4? And doesn't x cubed just mean 3? So if I were to multiply those together, wouldn't I just have x to the 7th? So again, I'm noticing that I'm adding those exponents, which we've seen before. Same thing here, x to the 5th times x to the 1 gives me x to the 6th. And we're using and capitalizing on that rule that x to the a times x to the b is x to the a plus b. So we do add when we multiply same bases. So when we're distributing, we want to make sure that we're adding the exponents. So the big thing is sometimes people start to get confused with adding versus multiplying. So the things we need to remember is that when we're adding like terms, or subtracting for that matter, we're going to add the coefficients and keep the same exponents. But when we're multiplying, we're going to multiply the coefficients and add the exponents. So this is a big piece to keep in mind. So for example, 3x plus 2x, we're adding, so I add my coefficients, 3 and 2 is 5. I keep the same exponent. When I'm multiplying 3x times 2x, I'm going to multiply my coefficients. 3 times 2 is 6. And I'm going to add the exponents. X to the first times x to the first gives me x squared. Remember, if we're not like terms, we can't add them. So 2x squared plus 7x do not have the exact same variable part, so I have to keep them separate. I don't have to worry about that when multiplying. 2 times 7, if I multiply my coefficients, is 14. X squared times x is x to the 2 plus 1, or x cubed. So again, I don't have that block, so to speak, that says I can't do things because I don't have like terms. So now I'm moving into these multiplying monomials by polynomials now that we've got some of the basics down. I'm going to go ahead. It's usually easier to start with my smaller polynomial, and I'm going to distribute that in. And as we've seen before, I always distribute with multiplication. So I'm going to have negative 4x to the fourth times 3x cubed. Well, 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. X cubed times x to the fourth is x to the 7th. Negative 4x to the fourth times negative 8x cubed. Well, negative 8 times negative 4, again, sign belongs to the number, is 32. X to the 1 times x to the 4 is just x to the 5. And finally, distributing to all terms, so 3 times negative 4, x to the fourth. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. There are no other x's, so it's going to remain an x to the fourth. I check, I don't have any like terms since none of my variables are the same. I'm in standard form since my exponents are decreasing, so I'm going to go ahead and stop here. Looking at the next example, same thing, I check. I cannot combine anything inside my parentheses. Since this 3 is directly outside of it, I can distribute it in. 3x times 2x cubed is 6x to the fourth. Minus 3x times 4x. 3 times 4 is 12. X times x, remember, is going to be x squared. This is not inside the parentheses, so I do not distribute to that. It just drops down. Now I check. I do have some like terms, so the 6x to the fourth remains. Negative 12x squared minus 7x squared. Remember, with adding or subtracting, I add or subtract my coefficients. Keep the same variable, so negative 12 and negative 7 is negative 19. I keep the x squared. I no longer have any like terms, and I'm in standard form. Looking at the third and final example, on my first set of parentheses, I notice there is nothing to distribute in, so I'm going to go ahead and just drop the parentheses. If I was supposed to, or if this were meant to be distributed in, there'd be parentheses around it to show multiplication, but there's not. So nothing to distribute from the first set. In the second set, I can distribute the minus 4x. Minus 4 times 4 is minus 16. X times x squared is x cubed. Minus 4x times 2x. Minus 4 times 2 is minus 8. X times x is x to the second. And finally, minus 4x times minus 8 is positive 32x. I check to see if I have any like terms. X squared and negative 8x squared is going to be a negative 6x squared. Adding and subtracting, don't change your exponents. Negative 4x, I missed the negative, and a positive 32x. I can go ahead and combine those, and I get a positive 28x. Plus 7 is just going to drop down. There are no other constants. And I have just that one cubic term, so that also will just drop down. Rewriting in standard form, sign belongs to the number, so I'll start with a negative 16x cubed minus 6x squared plus 28x plus 7. And now I'm in standard form. I've combined all my like terms. So again, make sure that you are distributing to all the terms and paying attention to when do I change my exponents through addition versus when do I just combine and keep my exponents the same. And it's all about am I multiplying or adding. Bring this in with you to class, and if you have any questions, please make sure you do bring that to my attention so we can address those.